Hi there, my name's Dr. Dave Lee. I'm clinical director at a company called Sleep Unlimited. We specialize in the assessment and treatment of sleeping problems, but we also do a lot of training as well in the area to health professionals, also people who are working in safety critical environments. I also work with employers who employ people like shift workers and drivers and so forth. So I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of this brief talk today, but just want to give you a quick 10 minutes just as a little introduction to how we manage sleep problems using what the NHS guidelines in the UK would say we should be doing. And that is implementing techniques sort of under the umbrella term of what we call CBT for insomnia. I'm sure you've heard of CBT before. It means cognitive behavioral therapy. And we have different variants of CBT for different mental health conditions. So CBT for people living with anxiety or depression. And we have our own version for insomnia called CBTI. It's a set of fairly straightforward principles, practices, which I'll go through some of these for you shortly. And it's highly effective. It's a non-drug approach, so people don't end up struggling with the addiction issues that we often see around using sleeping tablets. And CBT for insomnia has been shown to be effective for 70% of people who engage with it. So it's a very effective set of interventions that can work for people of all ages. Um, Essentially, CBT for insomnia is really just doing two things. It's putting in all of the things that sleep likes to optimize your chances of sleeping on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's identifying obstacles to sleep, practices, behaviors, things that you might do which could potentially interfere with your sleep, and then just removing them. CBT for insomnia, CBTI, is not stop doing things. It's more change the time at which you might do certain things. So if a certain behavior is obstructive to your sleep, it's not stop doing it. It's just do that earlier in the day. And I'll come back to this later on. We'll talk about the 2 hour rule. And generally speaking, you just avoid anything which is an obstacle for your sleep in the 2 hours before bed. So I'll come back to the obstacles in a little bit, but just to break it down, we'll just start off. We'll talk about all the things that sleep really likes. So the number one thing sleep likes is a good routine. Good sleepers tend to have good routines. Poor sleepers tend to have more chaotic routines. And if that's the case, we just tighten up the routine of the person who's not sleeping well if their routine's a bit chaotic and they settle into a new routine. Their body rhythms get used to that. Sleep really likes that. If you think about when routines change on us, we all know what the clock changes feel like twice a year. They kind of mess us up for a few weeks. Shift work's a really good way to mess with your routine. A lot of people will have experienced jet lag when you're going through different time zones. Your body has to adapt to that new time zone, whether you've flown to Thailand or whether you've just moved from an early shift to a late shift, or if the clocks have just changed on you. It takes a week or two for your body rhythm to settle into that new routine. And we don't like that, and that hurts. It's an obstacle for our sleep, that routine changing around on us. So just get in a really consistent routine. Listen to your body. When you get tired in the evening, you yawn. Oh, there I'm yawning at 20 past 10. I'm getting towards a natural dip in my alertness. That's probably a good time for me to go to bed. Our alertness cycles up and down. You've stayed up past your usual bedtime before, and then you get a second wind, we call it, and a sort of burst of energy. Like, why am I getting this burst of energy now? I should be tired. It's just your natural body rhythm going on. So if you're in a good routine, you're likely to catch that dip. Good indicator is that you're yawning, much more likely to get off to sleep. But if you miss it and you stay up, your alertness is going to go up, and it might take an hour and a half for you to get to your next dip. So don't worry about that. Just wait for your next yawn. Ah, there it is. If it was at 10:30, it's probably going to be another one at midnight. I'll look at the midnight one and try and catch that dip. So good sleepers tend to have good routines. That's a fairly straightforward thing to implement. Listen to your body, clock where you're yawning, and then aim your bedtime for around there. If it's 10:30, get ready for bed at 20 past 10. If it's 11, get ready for bed at 10 to 11. So you're in bed to catch that dip. Pretty straightforward thing to do. The second big thing that sleep really likes is exposure to natural daylight. Now, we have a gland in our brains called our pineal gland. You may well have heard of that before. And it makes the neurohormone melatonin. Again, you may well have heard of that before as well, the sleep hormone. Now, melatonin is made in our pineal glands when we stimulate our eyes with lots of light. So light has information in it that our brains process, and that's the visual system. All familiar with that. We have some cells in our eyes which don't sort of detect the information in the light. They're just detecting the intensity of the light. So light intensity is measured in lux or lumens. Indoor environments where I'm sat now in front of my machine here may be giving me 300 lux or lumens. Outdoors on the worst November day, you'd get 3,000 lux coming through that sky. And in a bright, sunny summer's day in the UK, maybe 50 or 60,000 lux. 200 times more than I get sat indoors. I'm not supposed to be zooming. I'm supposed to be farming or hunting buffalo and berries out there in the ecosystem. Sat in front of these machines in indoor environments, swapping my home for my car for my office. I'm now not getting outdoors so much. And modern life's really not great for that. We sit in front of these an awful lot. And if you want to sleep well tonight, just go and spend a few hours out of doors. You know what that feels like. You've all had that experience, all the day on the beach. Oh, you'll sleep well tonight because of all the fresh air. It's not the fresh air, it's that natural daylight. If you want to sleep well tonight, just go and spend 6 hours out of doors if you can. And that will resolve a sleep problem for a lot of people. A lot of sleep problems we think are developing because people aren't outdoors so much. They're sat in front of these things. Put in everything sleep likes, good routine, and go outdoors. Very simple things to do. If you go outdoors and your brain's made loads of melatonin, we can break that down and make serotonin. And serotonin makes us happy, boosts our mood. So go outdoors, it'll help you sleep, but it also makes us happy as well. And that's free and it's just over there. All we have to do is just go outdoors and find it. Straightforward things to do. Good routine, spend more time out of doors. Okay, there's the things that we can do to optimize our sleep. What about the obstacles? And I mentioned earlier on, we've got this 2 hour rule. Anything which is going to get in the way of your sleep, try not to do it in the 2 hours before bed. CBTI is not stop doing things. It's maybe just change the time of day at which you do it. Now, eating is essential. You can't not eat, you've got to eat. But if you're eating in the 2 hours before bed, your stomach is digesting the food that you've eaten, and that's arousing. Sleep is a state where we de-arouse. If you are too excited, either in your brain or in your body, you're going to struggle to get off to sleep. We all have to wind down to get off to sleep. So anything which is arousing is an obstacle. So don't stop eating, obviously, but don't eat in the 2 hours before bed. Eat earlier in the day. You digest your food. That enables you to calm down. Your digestion's not going. That'll help you get off to sleep. You drink loads of liquid in the evening. You're going to get up in the night to use the bathroom. Really common, and dead easy to resolve. Just don't drink in the 2 hours before bed. Drink, yes, obviously, earlier in the day, just not in the 2 hours before bed. If you get thirsty, maybe little sips or some sugar-free chewing gum to keep the saliva going around in your mouth so you don't get a dry throat, feel uncomfortable. But if you've not consumed large quantities of liquid, then you're less likely to wake up in the night and use the bathroom. And that can resolve things very quickly for lots of people. It's incredibly common that drinking in the evening and getting up to use the bathroom. You'll also notice when you get tired, you yawn, also get a bit chilly. We have a drop in our body temperature when we get tired towards bedtime. So anything which raises your body temperature, exercise, excellent for sleep, just not in the 2 hours before bed because you need to cool down to get off to sleep. And if your heart rate's pumping and your blood temperature's high because you've just been running around, that's arousing. You need to de-arouse to get off to sleep. So exercise, hot baths, they're lovely for sleep, just not too close to bedtime. Reading emails at 10:30 at night. My boss wants me to do this tomorrow. Put the emails away in the 2 hours before bed. Get that stuff out of your mind. Don't overstimulate yourself. Don't eat, drink. Nicotine's a stimulant, all in the 2 hours before bed. So we just are applying this 2 hour rule to anything which might be an obstacle for our sleep. And essentially, that's anything that's arousing. One exception to that is caffeine. Caffeine has a long half-life, takes us a long time for our body to eliminate that. And it's very stimulating. So what we'd say with caffeine is leave it alone at least 4 hours before bed, or 6 hours if you can. Put in everything sleep likes, good routine, go outdoors. Avoid anything which gets in the way of it. Chill out in the evening, cool down, calm down. Unplug from the screens, from the emails. Do mindfulness exercises, something low key to help us wind down. Exercise, eat, drink, all those fun things. Absolutely. Keep living your life in the day. Just avoid them in the 2 hours before bed. The one exception being caffeine. That's highly likely to resolve a sleep problem for 7 out of 10 people. So if this is you and you're struggling with your sleep a little bit, try some of these ideas out for 2, 3 weeks. See how you get on. If things start to shift, you're in the 70%, stick with it. If things don't move, you might be in the 3 out of 10 where CBTI might not be effective, in which case we might need to have a little bit more of a detailed look at the situation, do a bit more of an assessment to find out what else might be happening to then provide you with the right sort of advice. Very brief look there at some things to help with sleep, optimizing your chances of getting off and staying asleep, and then waking up more refreshed during the day. If you found this stuff interesting and you want to get into this in more detail, then there's a book available on Amazon. Other online bookshops are around too. So lots more information in our book, Teaching the World to Sleep. And if you're interested in any assessments or training that we provide, please do get in touch with us here. We have a IOSH approved course called Sleeping Well to Work Safely, following on from their popular courses, Managing Safely and Working Safely courses. This is a potentially a good addition to that, which is a day-long online course with accreditation as well. So for people who are working in the safety domains and looking after employees working on more safety critical places of employment, that may well be of interest as well. Also pleased to be partnering up with IIRSM as well for some workshops that we're putting on with them over the next few months. Thanks very much for listening. If you're interested in any of those training options or assessment and treatment options, as I say, please do give us a shout. There are our contact details. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care and sleep well.